This is where America declared independence, where the Constitution was written, where democracy took its first breath. Philadelphia wasn't just another colonial town, it was the revolutionary heart of a nation. But how did William Penn's city of brotherly love become the stage for history? And why did it lose its status as capital? The history of Philadelphia is America's origin story, full of idealism, conflict, and enduring legacy. Before the city, shadows over Lenape lands. Long before the clang of cobblestone and the echo of church bells, the land that would become Philadelphia whispered with the breath of ancient forests and the voices of the Lenape people. They called the river Lenape, their lifeline flowing through a land they knew in soul and soil. In the shadowed groves of Coconoc, the grove of pines, they lived in harmony with nature, their fires burning quietly on the east bank of the Schuylkill. Passyunk, in the valley, nestled near the fateful meeting of the Schuylkill and Delaware, pulsed with life, songs and stories, until the silence of approaching strangers grew louder. From Nidapekunk, a place that is easy to get to Shakamaxon, where the chief was crowned, these were not just villages, but sacred spaces of a people whose history would soon be overwritten by foreign hands. The dawn of colonization loomed like a storm on the horizon, and the Lenape stood at the edge of an age soon to be lost. Empire's edge, the struggle for the Delaware. Long before liberty rang, blood and ambition soaked the soil of Philadelphia's future. In 1609, Henry Hudson's ship sliced into the Delaware River, not as a harbinger of peace, but as the spearhead of European hunger. The Dutch staked their claim, draping the land in the name of New Netherland and erecting Fort Beversreed. Wooden walls meant not just to trade but to control, to dominate the sacred fur paths of the Susquehannock. But empires rarely sleep alone. By 1638, Peter Minuit, a man scorned by his Dutch masters, returned under a new banner, Swedish this time, dragging with him dreams of vengeance and conquest. As Fort Christina rose from the marshes of today's Wilmington, the forests trembled, sensing the permanence of this new invasion. The English came too in 1642, cloaked in Puritan righteousness and led by George Lamberton, seeking to forge a theocracy at the mouth of the Schuylkill. But the land spat them out. Dutch and Swedish fire reduced their settlement to ash, and sickness finished what muskets began. Lamberton was tried not for his faith, but for trespass as rival empires clashed over land already loved and lived on by others. In this brutal theater of ambition, Philadelphia's cradle was carved with fire, betrayal, and the unyielding hunger of nations. The Cross and the Crown, twilight of New Sweden. In the bitter winds of February 1643, Johann Bjornsson Prince stepped ashore as the iron-fisted governor of New Sweden, bringing royal will to a wild frontier. From Tinicum Island, just beyond the cradle of what would become Philadelphia, he carved a seat of power, Fort New Gothenburg, and erected the Princehof, a manor house overlooking a land that pulsed with tension and ambition. Prince allied with the Susquehannock in blood and battle, standing firm against Maryland's colonial incursion, sharpening Swedish claims at the mouth of the Schuylkill. In a daring display of defiance, the Swedes hammered Fort Nieuwkoers home into the soil, mere feet from the Dutch stronghold of Fort Beversreed, its walls a brazen insult meant to choke Dutch trade and provoke confrontation. The Dutch buckled under pressure, abandoning Beversreed in 1651, but their fury smoldered. By 1655, Peter Stuyvesant descended like a storm from New Amsterdam, shattering the fragile autonomy of New Sweden. Yet even in conquest, the Dutch could not extinguish the stubborn heart of the settlers. Swedish and Finnish colonists kept their courts, their militia, their faith, ghosts of a dying colony that would not fade. Long after empires changed hands, they endured. In 1669, Sven Gunnarsson settled at Wickiko, on native ground in today's South Philadelphia, raising a humble blockhouse that would outlive kings and become Gloria Dei, the old Swedes' church, rooted in the soil where defiance, faith, and memory would bloom. A city dreamed in silence. William Penn and the founding of Philadelphia. In 1681, with the stroke of a royal pen, a king's debt to a dead admiral birthed a new world. William Penn, son of privilege and prisoner of conscience, was granted a vast wilderness that would become Pennsylvania, a land already soaked in native blood and imperial ambition. But this gift came with ghosts. Maryland's Lord Baltimore cried foul, igniting Cresap's War as lines on paper drew real wounds into the soil. Penn, undeterred, crossed the sea, touching American soil first at Newcastle before the land itself bowed in orderly allegiance to its new proprietor. Philadelphia's future ground held only 50 Europeans then, lonely farmers clinging to Wickiko's edges, but from those meager roots, Penn planted a revolution of spirit. Guided by dreams shaped in Thomas More's utopia and scarred by the whips of English persecution, he carved a city not of gold but of peace, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Its streets, drawn in perfect grid, promised order amid wilderness. Its homes, set apart and ringed with gardens, whispered a rejection of old-world squalor. He bargained not with swords but with treaties, buying land from Lenape chiefs and forging a fragile harmony that eluded Dutch and Swede alike. Yet beyond the river's edge, storms gathered, Conestoga warriors to the west, resentful Delaware to the north, Dutch traders armed with suspicion, and even his own settlers in Delaware hungering for separation. Still, Penn dreamed on, a port city with its soul set on liberty, rooted in orchards, crowned with a market, and wrapped in the thin but enduring promise of brotherhood in a land where none yet understood the weight of freedom. Fire on the frontier, fear and fury in revolutionary Philadelphia. By 1754, the wilderness beyond Philadelphia ignited into chaos as the French and Indian War bled into the colonies, and the city of brotherly love became a refuge for the displaced and desperate. Benjamin Franklin, once a man of quills and presses, now raised militias to shield the trembling edges of empire. Waves of refugees surged into the city, fleeing the fire-scorched frontiers, their eyes haunted by war's ruin. In 1763, as Pontiac's rebellion tore through the land, Philadelphia braced for another flood. This time Lenape families, once proud stewards of the land, now hunted by both vengeful tribes and merciless settlers. The Paxton Boys came next, white frontiersmen turned executioners, drunk on blood and fury, determined to slaughter the Lenape even within the city's heart. But there, in a chilling standoff, stood Franklin and the city militia, unmoving, unarmed but resolute. He did not speak with muskets but with reason, and through the haze of hatred turned the Paxton mob away. Still, the episode left a stain deeper than blood. The brotherhood Philadelphia promised was cracking, strained by the fear of the other, by the ghosts of conquest, and the realization that even in a city founded on peace, the drums of war beat louder than ever before. The city that stirred the storm, Philadelphia and the road to revolution. In the restless decade before revolution, Philadelphia pulsed with fury beneath its orderly grid. The Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, each decree from across the sea tightened the noose of empire, and the people began to choke. The city's merchants shuttered their doors to British goods, and threats flared like sparks in the night. No tea, no tyranny. When the ship Polly crept into the Delaware in December 1773, its cargo heavy with the crown's insult, it was met not with welcome but with a wall of resolve, ordered to turn back, untouched, unwelcome. As Parliament's iron hand pressed harder in 1774, the colonies looked for a rallying cry, and found it not in Boston's harbor but in Philadelphia's heart. Here, beneath the beams of Carpenter's Hall, the First Continental Congress gathered, a tinderbox of defiance, cloaked in formality but burning with rebellion. As muskets cracked and blood spilled, Philadelphia became the soul of revolution, hosting both the First and Second Continental Congresses. No longer merely a city of brotherly love, it became the crucible of a nation's birth, where words were weapons and every street corner whispered treason in pursuit of liberty. Smoke, steel, and suffering, Philadelphia's gritty rise in the 19th century. The 19th century roared into Philadelphia like a furnace, hot with ambition, thick with soot. As foreign trade faltered under embargoes, the city turned inward, forging its destiny in fire and iron. Factories rose where farms once lay, and foundries echoed with the hammering birth of an industrial empire. The city became the beating heart of American manufacturing, its veins coursing with paper, leather, boots, coal, and steel. Iron pipes snaked through its streets from the monumental waterworks, gasworks lit the night like artificial stars, and the U.S. Naval Yard anchored its power on the waterfront. But as machines grew louder, so did the cries of the exploited. In 1835, 20,000 workers walked out of the smoke, defiant, desperate, sparking North America's first general strike, and wrenching from the grip of greed a 10-hour workday and higher wages. Meanwhile, Philadelphia reigned as the nation's financial spine, hosting the first and second banks of the United States, its vaults heavy with dreams and debts. Yet, as wealth climbed west of 7th Street, poverty sank into rotting tenements in its wake. Immigrants from Ireland and Germany poured in, packed into crumbling row houses and fetid alleys where manure mingled with refuse and disease. Tuberculosis and cholera bloomed in the filth, cutting down hundreds each year, mostly the poor, forgotten and unseen. Still, amid the squalor, light flickered. The Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, the Franklin Institute and free public schools emerged like lanterns in the fog, Proof that even in a city built on sweat and sorrow, the dream of progress could still draw breath. Ashes and Ascent, Philadelphia in the 20th century. The 20th century arrived in Philadelphia cloaked in smoke and ambition. But beneath the hum of industry, the city began to fracture. Once the titan of American manufacturing, Philadelphia's mills, shipyards, and factories thundered into the century, producing steel, locomotives, textiles, and ships for 2 world wars. The city's laboring backbone carried the nation through global conflict, but when the wars ended, so too did the era of iron. Deindustrialization swept in like a plague. Factories shuttered, jobs vanished, and once proud neighborhoods withered under the weight of unemployment and despair. Racial tensions erupted as waves of Black Americans fleeing Jim Crow sought refuge in the city, only to find segregation cloaked in northern civility. As white flight drained the city's tax base, poverty deepened and crime surged, staining Philadelphia's promise with struggle. Yet even in its darkest hours, the city fought to reimagine itself. Civil rights leaders rose, voices echoed in protest and in power, and neighborhoods organized against decay. Skyscrapers climbed into the skyline, new universities expanded their reach, and art and culture found roots in resilience. From the ashes of its industrial age, Philadelphia emerged battered but unbroken, no longer the nation's engine but still its conscience, still its crucible. Revival and Reckoning, Philadelphia in the 21st century. The 21st century found Philadelphia at a crossroads, scarred by corruption, haunted by violence, yet refusing to fade into history. Under Mayor John F. Street, the city sought resurrection, pouring life into its most neglected neighborhoods, even as whispers of scandal and pay-to-play politics tainted the air. Center City rose from the ashes of decline, its skyline pierced by condominiums and its streets pulsing with a new wave of residents, reversing decades of population loss. But this revival ran parallel to a darker current. Police scandals from the previous decade cast long shadows, and by the mid-2000s, murder rates surged again, reminding Philadelphians that not all wounds had healed. Amid these contradictions, history stirred. Beneath the earth, the bones of the president's house emerged, exposing the ghosts of Washington's enslaved and forcing the city to reckon with the truths it had buried. With Mayor Michael Nutter came a breath of reform, a businessman with a conscience who slashed crime, fought foreclosure, and restored hope to families on the edge. The city's soul flickered bright in 2015, when Pope Francis stood beneath the skyline to speak of mercy to a crowd of 1 million. Tourists came in droves, drawn by the Liberty Bell rocky steps, and the resilient heartbeat of a city that refuses to be defined by its darkest hours. In Philadelphia, past and present collide, uneasily, powerfully, each century carving new lines into its face, each challenge met with grit and a stubborn, unwavering will to endure. Philadelphia proves that cities can honor their past while reinventing themselves. From cobblestone streets to skyscrapers, from founding fathers to Philly cheesesteaks, this city keeps writing history. Now we want to hear your Philly story. Revolutionary roots? Favorite landmark? Or just love those passionate sports fans? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for our next American City documentary.